Everyone, I'm your host, Chris Sands, and I'm excited for this week's episode, not only because my guest is an awesome human being, but it means that they have finally opened and everyone can try their beer. Apparently, they are very excited too. So I'm joined right now just by Stephen Perez from Homaide. Is it just Homaide or is it Homaide? Yeah, it's Homaide Brewing Company.
Homaide Brewing. Yeah. Homaide
Um,
Brewing.
there's a CO on the crowler.
Homaide Brewing Company, yes.
All right.
Um,
I promised myself I was going to get names correct this episode because I was on like a 3-week run where I got everything wrong.
that's funny. And it might be going into it a little preemptively, but actually, Homaide used to be Homaide Packaging. We were a packaging and design company, and I really like the name and the logo. So
Okay, wait. You're
I
getting
know,
way
I
ahead
know.
of this. That's
This
a
is where
question I ask later on.
exactly. This is where I was like, I might be a little preemptive here,
Yeah,
but
you are. So just settle down.
Homaide Brewing Co.
Hopefully at some point the other half of you, the second co-founder, Lucas, is it Pinyan? I've never heard his last
Pinyan.
name said.
Yeah,
I got it
Pinyan.
right.
Yep.
I'm batting 1,000 today. I got every name right.
Yep.
You have no idea how proud of myself I am right now. And you know what? All it took was drinking a half a crowler of Kid Chameleon to be able to do that. But I was responsible. I chose the 6% beer instead of the
As
8%
opposed,
beer.
yeah. Weirdly enough, that's how we market Kid Chameleon.
as the one that you can still function after drinking half a crowler.
I guess technically that would be fight milk, but yeah.
So I guess we'll see how we are towards the end of it once I make the rest of the way through this. All right. So I first met you it was February at Love Thy Beer.
I think we crossed paths a little earlier.
Oh, that's right. I met you
at Maryland Craft Beer.
Yeah. And possibly didn't I meet you at Old Mother?
Yes, actually, even before that, we did cross paths there. I actually didn't even know what you did, and you didn't know what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an organic meetup.
Hopefully, I was nice to you.
You were extremely nice, and weirdly enough, Nick was glorifying you as well.
Well, I have nothing nice to say about Nick.
Exactly.
So then we reconnected at Love Thy Beer, but that was the first time that I ever got to try your beer.
Right.
And it was phenomenal. And apparently I was not the only one that thought so, because you also won the trophy that year, defeating Old Mother for the first time in three years, I think.
Yeah, we did. Another
and remind me, what beer was that for?
So I think it was a blueberry cobbler sour that we did.
Yes, that's what it was for.
We did bring a few of them, and I feel like we got votes for all 3 of them that we brought. But the blueberry cobbler is the one that we proposed as the Love Thy Beer.
The Cupid's Curse, or
the Cupid's Curse. Yeah.
So people were right. It was a very good beer. So congratulations on winning that.
Awesome. Yep.
So it was at that point where we decided that as soon as you opened, I would have you on as a guest, and here we are. You were open. Not right now though, because we're in the middle of a blizzard.
Right.
But you are selling beer, delicious beer, which
finally.
So first, I think we should give a little shout out to. Hopefully, there is plenty of Kid Chameleon for people to get. Because
yes.
Okay, good. Because people should go get it because it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, that's actually a collab that we did with our friends over in Solace Brewing as well.
Oh, I need to have them on too. I love their beer.
Yeah. Yep. Something the community has done is be super helpful during these trying times. And yeah, they allowed us to do a fun IPA, kind of a hybrid white IPA on their bigger system.
So why is it called a white IPA?
So there's actually different versions of white IPA, but this in particular is a mix of a wheat beer and this one a hazy.
Okay.
So we actually use second generation Chimay yeast in this. We did the traditional coriander, orange, and lemon peel, and then we dry hopped it with Citra and Sabro. So we started it off as a wit beer. It did age on Chimay, or yeast was Chimay, and then we introduced a dry hop that introduced the biotransformation as far as kind of a blend between, a wit and a hazy. So this one is not your traditional white beer per se. It's a little heavier on the hazy side, but it has drier notes, wine notes, like a wine finish, and more grapefruit finish as well.
There's definitely a lot of grapefruit in there, which is a good
Yeah,
thing.
rather than your,
or at least that flavor. And actually, even the fruit itself.
Yeah, I agree.
And it tastes delicious out of this, my fancy new homemade brewing glass, made by uncapped sponsor ACS brand my beverage.
Oh,
you like that segue, don't you?
Yeah.
So did you ever brew professionally before being professional now?
A few years. Yeah, actually ended up helping Bavarian Brothers over at Bavarian Inn in Shepherdstown.
Okay.
I was early on there helping them out, kind of in the transition of me the dreamer phase. I realized, I was just a home brewer. I need to get a little more hands-on experience at an actual brewery. So they took me on kind of as a consultant, but I actually learned a lot through that as well.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's not that often. I mean, it definitely happens that someone who was just a home brewer opens and their beer is as good as yours is when they open. And
Well,
I mean, yours was this good, 10 months ago? No, yeah, 10 months ago before you were even open.
Yeah. So to be fair, I have been working on recipes for years as far as dialing in certain recipes, stylistically and unstylistically as well.
So did Lucas ever brew professionally? Or was he homebrew bred?
He has brewed professionally, which is actually why we work really well together. He's been in the game a while. He used to brew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
At a few different breweries.
Quite a hot spot for beer right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. At a few different ones, but I think the latest one being a brewery called Pigskin Brewery.
Okay.
And then when he moved back over here, he actually was the lead brewer over at Berkeley Springs the last year and a half, I'd say. It was a year and a half? 2 years? At Berkeley? Yeah, a year and a half. So then, we scooped him up, and he makes really, really good traditional beer. And if you've had my beer, I make traditional with variants as well. So we work really well together.
That's what I think everything I've had from you has been far from traditional.
Right. Exactly.
It's all a very, very big twist on something. Like your hazies aren't even traditional. It's a hazy wit beer hybrid.
Yep. And most people who do know me know I talk about Belgian yeast way too much. And that's kind of what with honestly beer was yeast cultivation and water chemistry. So once I learned about Belgian yeast, I started taking every single traditional beer and making it a bastard beer and abusing it with Belgian yeast. But I found the notes that I actually preferred in beer. And from that, really worked on more yeast cultivation to see what it is about certain for.
I wonder, so what are the flavors from Belgian yeast that you enjoy? Because like typically I don't like Belgian style beers.
Right, and I think the reason most people do say that is they assimilate it with like a clovey or banana.
Yes. Well,
thing.
banana, I don't mind. Clove, I hate
Clove,
clove.
yeah. So I think for me, I actually prefer to ferment my beer a little lower in temperature, and that honestly that produces a little more esters rather than phenols, and you're getting a little more fruit forward from the yeast rather than the clove that you would get at a higher temperature.
Somehow I never learned that before right now.
Yeah, and that's actually the cool but weird thing about yeast is it's even the same strain can react differently depending on their environment, and that's what got my brain thinking like, oh, you're saying there's yeast that's susceptible to, it could brew at 50 or ferment at 54 degrees, or it could go as high as 90 degrees, and just because it can doesn't mean it should.
Yeah.
So that's learning, well, what attributes of the yeast do I prefer in my beer, and that's where I learned fermenting lower with Belgian yeast actually produces the higher fruits, sometimes like a toffee caramel aspect as well, without the lingering sweetness from the malt. And kind of just made that my shtick was, I liked brewing traditional beers. However, I like switching up the yeast. So it changes that whole tradition to something completely different because it's not no longer traditional. So yeah, usually the grist will be a traditional thing though. It starts off as an intended thing, but then me learning
Throw
yeast.
weird yeast at it.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing what sticks pretty much.
I can't remember who it was now. But there was someone from I wish I could remember who it was so I could attribute it to him. It was a brewer telling me that they think like going forward, yeast is going to be one of the most important defining features in craft beer.
I
That
actually full-heartedly agree with
yeah,
that.
and that's why I was bringing it up because like listening to you talk, it reminded me of that. Because the more you play with yeast, like it's like hops, but he was saying like at this point, like that has kind of reached a point where everything, like everyone's using the same hops and it's very
Exactly.
similar blends, and that's
Yep.
very
Yep.
the same. So if you want to differentiate yourself, yeast is where it's going to be done.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such an easy uh it's an easy thing to mess up, but it's also one of those things that when it works really well, you almost wonder why more people haven't done it.
So do you end up with more misses by being experimental with yeast though, or like
Not
is
so
it
much
less
anymore.
forgiving?
Not so much anymore because I waited to start the brewery until I
Okay.
felt I know what I was doing, because yeah, there's no room for error on that end, to be that experimental on the bigger scale. Even though we're not big, I mean we're a 3.5 barrel brewery, but there's pretty much using what I've learned from yeast cultivation as a home brewer and over at Bavarian, and applying that here. And a lot of the stuff I will do, used to do, was hybrid blends, and now I'm going to selfishly plug someone. We use Jasper yeast,
Well,
which
he's been on. I love
yeah,
Jasper. That guy taught
which
me so much. I don't even know what times more smarter than me. But the guy is a genius.
yeah, yeah, same. I really enjoy talking to him. He's another. I haven't even gone full force on it yet, but from what I have talked to him, yeah, he knows his shit, and he's gotten us some really cool strains already, super fast, and they've taken off way quicker than I've actually ever experienced from any other yeast supplier. So I am a very, very happy camper over here and huge advocate for Jasper yeast, especially
Well,
if you're like me and you want to experiment but don't want to screw up the yeast.
yeah.
He can make it for you.
Let's take a real quick sponsor break, and then when we come back, we can talk a little bit more about yeast, and
Awesome.
then we still need. Actually, I mean, we're 17 minutes in. We haven't even really gotten the backstory of Homaide yet. Got so off track talking about yeast. All right, so we will be right back.
Awesome.
If you haven't heard about our beer dinners, well, now you have. Typically, the last Tuesday of each month, we partner with a local brewery and craft an exclusive 5-course dinner. Each course is thoughtfully paired with some of the finest craft beer available. You'll meet the brewery, enjoy memorable pairings and service, and have a damn good time. Like us on Facebook to stay in the know when tickets become available, because they will sell out quick.
Idiom Brewing Company proudly offers a delicious variety of beers to satisfy the most discerning tastes. Best known for their wide array of IPAs, delicious fruited sours, and robust porters and stouts, Idiom prides themselves on continuing to innovate, utilizing new and experimental hops, local ingredients, and unique flavor profiles. Idiom has a simple goal in mind: to bring people from all walks of life together to enjoy themselves and each other. Idiom Brewing Company is located in downtown Frederick, just south of the intersection of East Street and East Patrick Street, with ample seating and directly on Carroll Creek.
Uncapped is brought to you with support from McClintock Distilling, Maryland's first and only organic certified distillery. They are well known for their award-winning gin and are rapidly growing a name for themselves for their Matchstick Bourbon and Bootjack Rye Whiskey that have both won double gold at international spirits competitions. You can visit them in historic downtown Frederick along Carroll Creek for tours and tastings. Go to McClintockDistilling.com for more information. It was actually, we went down to Virginia. This was back when we were recording episodes in person because it was safe to be around other people, and set up shop at Ocelot.
Oh, nice.
And recorded an episode with them, and then Jasper. And I feel horrible. I can't remember his name, but his partner, both of them came on and taught us all kinds of stuff about yeast.
Yeah.
And from what I understand too, like they provide like a ridiculous amount of support. Like we'll teach you everything for free just for buying yeast from them.
Yep. Yeah, when we first started using them, they actually sent us a couple starters, which no one else does in the industry. And
awesome.
Yeah, we were super. Actually, helped quite a bit.
So, what's your favorite type of yeast to work with? Is it Belgian yeast?
How'd you know?
Lucky guy.
Yeah, actually, really like the Adrenis strain. It's a Belgian ale strain. Something about it when you ferment low gives you this like toffee caramel note to it, or alongside the malt, obviously. But that to me has been the cleanest Belgian yeast I think I've ever come across. And I will let go of my secret here. That's what we use in all of our cream ales as well. So it's, again, not a traditional cream ale because it has Belgian yeast in it, but the Belgian yeast is so clean and it attenuates perfectly for that style that it's become a house yeast.
What are your thoughts on Kvik?
I have mixed feelings. I like the concept, but it's the same thing going back of, any yeast can do that. It's just that yeast is doing a little cleaner, or they say a little cleaner, and depending on the strain as well. But I have yet to find one that I like, because it always produces this like sulfury or something's going on that I can't quite pick up, and I stay away from it. But that being said, I have had some that kind of surprised me too, where it was super clean. I was told it was done in a week's time, and I refuse to believe it, but it is what it is. But yeah, I will never hate on a yeast. I just am always skeptical.
I hate on Kvik a lot. And I think it's more of, there are a lot of breweries that don't know how to use it.
Exactly.
And,
I think, yep.
Have you had any of the ones Old Mother made with it?
Actually, yeah, the Peter Bikeman. Yeah. I really enjoyed that one. And it was a fresher batch. And luckily, we're 10 minutes away from Antietam Brewery. So they dropped some off, and it was fresh as can be. And even with age, that beer, because I remember I left one alone for like a 3 week period, revisited it, and I was impressed. It actually cleaned up
Stop talking
nicely.
about that being old. You're perpetuating the problem of people talking about an IPA
Yes.
being old if it's.
This is the problem, right? Is like the whole point of that yeast is what, to rush it, and you
Yeah.
can't really rush it. So actually, with time, the 21-day regiment, which is 3 weeks, can actually help. It can actually help.
Yeah, I think Old Mother is a brewery that does make that uses the yeast well.
Mhm.
And funny enough, they were taught how to use it from a gentleman from that area of the world.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's right. I remember when he did come and visit.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I think his name's Peter. Because I remember.
You're right, which would
'cause
make sense. Yeah.
I can hear Keith saying Peter in a weird accent, trying to pretend
Yep.
like he was from.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just had one from Full Tilt that was also
Ooh, okay.
really, really, really good.
Nice.
I think I have some more. I'll just save you one. I'll drop it off to you.
Awesome. I made one that I was happy with once, but it had Sabro in it. I think back before it was Sabro, it was like HBC 437 or something like that. And it was the first time I was actually okay with a Kvike beer because the Sabro produced like this coconut thing, which worked really well with the pineapple sulfur thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it created this tropical paradise beer that I didn't have to like overcompensate with any sort of hops to make that happen. And that in itself was an interesting experiment that with yeast that I was like, oh, this could work. But yeah, I'm still a little skeptical, and not because of the yeast, just because of a lot of people trying to use it as a rushing technique rather than the yeast itself.
I will routinely hate on that yeast and Idaho 7. I hate Idaho 7.
Yeah, Idaho 7 also has a time and place, but it's distinctive, that's for sure. Honestly, I'll make the same argument for Sabro. I know it's starting to be in the same category. Some people hate it, some people love it. But the subjectivity within all our palates is actually the thing that kind of tickles my brain, to be honest with you.
So how you the way you made it sound, it seems like you and Lucas haven't known each other for a long time.
Yeah, no. We weirdly met starting separate breweries. When I had my stint looking in West Virginia, like Martinsburg area, for a brick and mortar, he was kind of like following me on Untapped and Instagram and stuff. So every time I went to festivals, he would like text me and tell me like, "Oh, dude, you're doing really good on the ratings or whatever." And then so eventually we met up because we were both looking in Martinsburg area, got a good vibe, decided we were going to team up. Once the Martinsburg area didn't happen, we still decided, we should, instead of failing separately, succeed together. So we decided to, take a stab at it. And honestly, couldn't have made the better choice because dude is freaking funny. He's awesome, and he brews extremely good beer and has the experience that I don't have. So it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I can't attest for him on a personal level from like as well as you know him, but I know at least from what he posts on Facebook, he's funny.
He's so funny. He's ridiculous. He's ridiculous, and it's funny in person. He doesn't try to seem the type, but then if you're Facebook friends with him, you're gonna laugh throughout the day.
So you mentioned following each other on Untapped and looking at reviews. What are your thoughts on, like, do you put a lot of stock in reviews on there, or do you not care?
Personally, me, I don't care at all. But I have seen where it's helped homemade, especially me being, we started branding ourselves 2.5 years ago. Started doing the festival circuit because I thought maybe that would be a good way to get our name out there. Um, and I'm glad I did, because we see a lot of breweries that kind of just start and they're like, "Hey, we're here, accept us," and then
Yeah.
they have no like footprint or following. So in that regard, I think Untapped has actually helped us, because it's given people the like, "Oh, there's something coming," for years and years. There's
Yeah.
something coming, and getting to try the beer, analyze the beer, and let me know kind of like what works and what didn't work. That way, I can solidify those beers before I treat like the tap room as a guinea pig, because as you mentioned, a lot of new breweries don't start right out of the gate with heavy hitters, and I didn't want to be that brewery who, like most people would be like, "Oh, we'll try them again in a year." We wanted to start strong. So in a sense, personally, I don't like the app, but I do think it's helped gauge pretty much our audience and get our name out there as well.
So helpful, but still dislike it like every other brewery.
Yeah, it's just because of the same reason I love it is I hate it. The whole subjectivity within this
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah, and there's so many variables within that it becomes like this. Like for me, I start short circuiting. Like cannot compute, because I start to overanalyze things, and I really shouldn't. It's a beer. A beer should be a beer, and that's
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
some people aren't going to like it. Some
Yeah.
people are going to. I mean, I think the only time I put any stock into a review at all is if you read it and you can tell the person isn't being subjective on their taste.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if they're saying, "This is a horrible beer. Here are the off flavors that I'm
Yeah.
picking up. There's
Yeah,
tons of
right.
diacetyl. It's infected with this." Like, then that's a useful review.
And it's funny because for me, that review would make me actually want to taste the beer to see if that
If they
is
were right.
actual thing. Yeah. Or if it was subjective and like maybe they were just having a bad day and that brewer gave them a bad look and they were like,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, that stuff is interesting. And on the flip side, you can tell when people are passionate about it too and actually care about what they're drinking, and they kind of are over emphatic about what they're drinking, and not in a bullshit way, but in a legit.
Yeah. Are you implying like every time I talk about how amazing a beer that has my picture on the can is?
Yeah, like it just happens to be the best beer ever.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this can of Sans Jams is the best beer that was ever
Promo.
made.
Yeah, right.
I keep a can right by
Oh,
me.
that's a good one. I don't think I caught that one actually. Sans Jams. I don't think I caught that one.
Yeah. Well,
That's
you
great.
know what? Brace yourself, because I mean it hasn't been officially announced yet, but it might as well say there will be a second coming of it.
A second coming, you guys.
Yeah. You hear it here first. Now
Yeah.
watch Dan listen and then call me and yell at me. I did have a streak of about a dozen episodes where I brought up and promoted Sans Jams, and
Right.
last week was the first time I didn't, so I broke my
Oh
streak.
man. So you got to restart it this week.
I had to resurrect it. All right, let's take one more quick sponsor break, and we need to go with the other normal questions I ask of where the name Homaide came from. I'll finally let you finish that story
from the beginning.
so rudely tried to just tell in the beginning.
I was trying to do a 5-minute interview, like just nip everything in the bud.
No, we don't do that around here. We drag it out as long as possible.
I have nowhere to be.
Yeah, you definitely don't have anywhere to go safely.
Yeah.
All right, we will be right back.
There are many reasons why I have chosen District East for where I purchase beer. I love the flexibility of being able to make a custom 6-pack or take home a crowler from one of the 8 beers on tap. The friendly and knowledgeable staff do an amazing job at keeping a diverse selection on hand. You can even purchase artwork from the monthly featured artist. District East is located on Northeast Street in Frederick in the same shopping center as Family Mill and Rockwell Brewery. You can find today's beer lists on the District East Facebook page or at www.districteast.beer.
To all you craft breweries, wineries, and distilleries out there, listen up. Atlantic Custom Solutions is the real deal in providing you branded growlers, ceramics, glassware, and accessories like koozies, coasters, and keychains. Their high-definition digital printing, organic ink, and low-fire process ensures your brand is printed in ultra-high definition, giving you a one-up on the competition. We've used Atlantic Custom Solutions for uncapped branded glassware and couldn't be happier with it. Check them out. Visit www.brandmybeverage.com or give them a call at 434-286-4500 to learn more about how they can help you brand your business. All right. So I know you are dying to tell me, where did the name Homaide come from?
Oh, ecstatic. So yeah, before Homaide was a brewery, or I was interested in brewing. I mean, I've been home brewing like 6 years now, but before we were a brewery, I used to run a packaging design company called Homaide. It was made at home, aiding to you,
Oh.
not to be confused, as some people are, made by hoes or hoes that are maids. Not to be confused. Some of that may have gone over my head after I established this, but yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So yeah, when we were a packaging design company and I started getting into beer, I was kind of like, well, beer can be a packaged product, so let's make Homaide Brewing Company an attachment to Homaide Packaging. Homemade packaging does somewhat still exist, but obviously I don't have time anymore to facilitate that. So yeah, it turned into Homaide Brewing. And the concept was still a home brewer having a dream and aiding to the community, pretty much.
Were you doing that while you were brewing at the Bavarian Inn also, or was that pre-Bavarian
Yeah,
Inn?
actually, it's interesting because they actually hired me as almost like a recipe consultant.
Okay.
We had met actually through Nick from Old Mother, because he lives in Shepherdstown.
And he wants everyone to live in Shepherdstown?
Yeah, yeah, everyone. And yeah, we met through that, and then Harry, the lead brewer, we got along really well, and I was looking for a part-time gig. They were looking for a little bit more recipe enhancements, and yeah, we kind of just started there and got a good vibe, and yeah, continued the dream aspect of Homaide. So actually, Homaide has been in the works for the last 2.5 years as far as brewing. But yeah, the first year was definitely just me dreaming, like thinking I could do this all by myself, pretty much.
Explain the logo.
So the logo,
Which I can hold that.
Okay, perfect.
Can you see it? There we go.
So the logo is supposed to
Although most people
symbolize.
listen to this, so they're not able to see what we're showing.
Exactly. Yeah, we just have something in the camera. The logo is actually a loose base tree that has 5 dots on it, and it represents the 5 senses as humans that we have. So something that we try to do here at Homaide is a sensory-based experience, and something that's important to us as well is hitting all the nails on the head, rather than just based on appearance or just smell or taste, which is kind of a segue into the sound aspect of Homaide. I come from a sound design background, so I license music for commercial and film. And what I noticed I started doing was I would make 3 or 4 versions off of one song to pretty much culminate every single demographic. So I would take drums out of a piece, make like an ambient version. I would put horns in a piece, make it orchestral, like Hollywood version. And then that kind of carried on to beer as well. I noticed myself making one big beer and then variations off of that as well to kind of hit multiple palates.
So wait, did you do that like selling your own pieces or
Yeah, so
like
that's still what
selling other?
That's my own pieces. So that's
Okay.
that's what I currently do. I'm a sound, and I work for a lot of different third-party licensing libraries. Well, I did, because now I'm doing this full time as well. So I'm trying to find that balance. But yeah, I've worked for
So
third-party
you
licensing
can,
libraries. Sorry, you
so
cut
you
out.
can teach. Can you hear me now? You did something on your phone, I think.
I think someone's trying to call me, and it's muting the.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
There we
All right,
go.
can you hear me? There we
Yep.
go. All right, what was your question?
So you, what software did you use?
I use Logic Pro,
Damn it.
and also I like to do a DAW free. So I have a lot of pedals. I'm mostly a percussionist. I play Rhodes piano, but use a lot of pedals and different things like
You don't know
hardware.
Adobe Premiere?
Do I know Adobe Premiere
Yeah.
for music?
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, I'm just looking for someone that can teach me how to actually
That's funny.
make this sound good.
You have a better setup than I over here, sir.
Yeah. Well, I could switch to using Logic to edit if you can teach me how to use that well.
That's funny. Okay, yeah. There you
But
go.
right now I use Adobe Premiere. But just looking for ways always to make this more professional.
I mean, you sound good. Your mids are clean. There's not too much of a bass roll.
All right. Well, maybe I'll sit down with you sometime and you teach me some things. That sounds like it would be a miserable job, though. Only from what I know of, like from that world, which is almost nothing. At any time it's ever talked about is like how miserable.
Right. It didn't start out that way, but the market's getting oversaturated because anyone can make music on their computer. So it didn't start off that way. I used to have a lot of fun with it until deadlines started being a thing, and and then it became like a time factor. You can't rush inspiration, as inspiration has no timing. So it became a backseat thing for me. Not that the end game for me is always to go back to music, but in due time. Like, this is our next stepping stone. And Homaide for me, COVID definitely hit us for a loop, but Homaide for me, the end game is a more of like a event space farm brewery that can
nice.
cater to multiple demographics, have original musicians, and just a bigger conglomerate communitive thing. So this is a stepping stone into that.
So do you want to make a new intro music for me?
Yeah, I would love to. It's only $1,200, sir.
I don't have that much.
Me either. That's why it's $1,200.
So you mentioned opening during a pandemic. Why'd you decide to do that?
It's funny you say that. The state asked us the same question the same way.
That's
like,
hilarious.
Are you serious? Like, we had signed a lease a week before COVID.
Oh, jeez.
So as much as I love Lucas, I wasn't going to hang out with him for $25,000 a year just to hang out. So yeah, the train, so to speak, was already on the tracks, and yeah, now it's just about adapting.
But it didn't. Was your opening slowed down at all because of COVID, or no matter what, would you have been opening right now? Because anyone listening that doesn't know, you've only been open for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So would you have been open sooner, or
the optimistic part of me would like to say yes, but because certain variables happened the way they did, no, honestly.
Yeah. So, and hope. I mean, obviously, you're opening right in probably one of the absolute worst parts of this timeline, but
sure.
Hopefully, you're opening at a time when we're, please God, towards the end of this,
Yeah.
and that it gives you an extended soft opening.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what we're trying to treat this as well. It's unfortunate because our neighbors right across the road, Cushwa, they've yet to do a grand opening.
Yeah.
And it's sad. So yeah, eventually when this thing clears up, we'd love to do something big, big together for the community and realistically as well. Because there's a lot of potential, but yeah, I mean, we want to keep everyone safe in our community, so we're not going to be those guys.
So right off the bat, you're already canning. You have a little canning line.
We have the cutest little canning machine.
It's adorable. I just wanted to go and pinch its cheek.
Yeah, it's just so nice.
What was that in the plans from the beginning, or
not the beginning? Not within the first year. Yeah, not within the first year. We were going to do the old school October hand canning, every single one. But we realized that it was only going to get worse, and we're glad that we did because the turnaround time on those was a while. So we got it perfect timing as well for us to be able to put 80% of our stuff in cans to go if need be.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be huge for you because and by law for
exactly.
I don't know what Washington County hasn't been as restrictive as a lot of the rest of the state, right?
Not yet, but it's any day now. We're just gonna wait in. Yeah.
So thankfully, you opened with that option right off the bat.
Right.
You have canned product. And well, when will this come out? This will come out next week sometime. So last week you released your honey bunches of beer.
Indeed.
So, is there a lot of that? Will that still be around right now?
Yeah, that'll definitely be around. We've brewed an extra amount just to make sure that that's the case. Highly requested beer. We were actually just waiting on labels to come in, and it sucks because we could have sold a whole bunch yesterday, but labels weren't here. And then today's a snow day. So, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of it to go around, and we're very, very happy with the beer, especially the first one being in cans, as far as such a popular beer for us from the festivals that we did.
It looks like the snow may have actually slowed down here.
Oh, it's still alive here.
Oh yeah, you're still getting it. Although I think you guys are supposed to get like twice as much as we are. Only a half hour away, but that mountain ridge is
holds it nicely.
It allows a lot more to dump on you guys than us.
Yep.
So I had a question. I lost it because anyone keeping track these last.
You had a question. So it is.
This couple swigs I have left in this glass are the end of that crowler. Oh, that's what size is your brew house?
3.5 barrel. So we're small. We're small. If anyone listening has any 7 barrels to get rid of, contact Stephen at homaidebrewing.com.
There are a lot of breweries that are large right now that started that small though.
Yeah.
And graduated quickly.
Yeah. And we kind of saw that with Cushwa's model as well.
Yeah.
So we ended up taking over all their equipment here in the tap room as well.
So maybe if they move to somewhere big, you can just move back to just follow them
move
around.
Over there, yeah, exactly. We joke about it every day.
That's fun. So that's right. I mean, we were talking about that. You basically, so anyone who doesn't know where Homaide is, if you've ever been to Cushwa prior to this year, you've been to Homaide.
Yep.
And if you've been to the new Cushwa, they're right in front of where Cushwa is.
Yep. Directly in front.
Is all of that equipment theirs, or did you add to it? or was theirs. It's obviously yours now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, it's not anymore. Yeah. Yeah, actually, everything in here right now is theirs, and like I said, we're actually looking at expanding already. So that's where that selfish plug came in. Any sevens out there? Yeah, we took over everything. The idea of installation and shipping and originally doing everything from the ground up quickly became a little easier with everything here
Just sitting
for
there
us.
waiting for you.
Yeah. So really all we did was redo the kind of the paneling in the brew house, restructure everything, and redo the trench drains as well.
It's so crazy that like any other industry, if there was well-established popular competition right beside you, it would be detrimental for you to open there.
Yeah,
But
like
with
there'd be knife
breweries,
fights every day.
but for some reason, like with breweries, it's actually helpful for you
Yeah.
to open up right next to them.
Absolutely, and it's funny we have this conversation daily as well. As far as you look at a lot of the most successful breweries, there's generally a conglomerate around them.
Yeah.
Because even though it seems like it should be competition based, it's definitely more communal, especially in the sense that everyone does something a little differently, and characters are different, vibes are different, and I think that speaks to a lot of humans because you don't want to go to the same cookie cutter place every time. It's nice to see some diversity as well.
And so how would you describe Homaide's vibe? Because you definitely have one. You're not, when you walk into Homaide, it is not a sterile environment.
Oh, you're saying we're dirty? Okay.
That's exactly what I meant. The place was filthy. I could not wait to get out of there.
Right. The bathrooms are terrible.
1 star.
No, we I don't know. I really like to. I really like this place to be somewhere for creatives, but not necessarily exclusively for creatives. I get made fun of all the time for this, but something for normies and the weirdos, pretty much. It's not supposed to be an artsy place, but it's not supposed to be sterile. It's just something for everyone without it being busy. Obviously, our prime focus is the beer itself, but as far as the environment, like I mentioned earlier, we try to be more of a sensory experience. So little things in here we want to implement, anything from clean air, like air purifiers, to the sound going on in the background, the visuals, the beer itself.
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. Like the creative, artsy type of vibe without the pretension.
Exactly. Yeah. That's definitely it. Sometimes it's a hard in between because it seems like you're faking it, but especially when you're trying to cater to multiple demographics. But yeah, it is what it is. Someone asked me that the other day, like, what's the feeling while they were sitting in here, and I'm like, what do you mean?
What do you feel?
Yeah, you tell me. Like, you tell me.
Well, the crowler is officially empty.
Nice.
Definitely am glad I went with the 6 and not the 8.
Yeah.
So what's the first craft beer you ever had that you think back to and love? What got you into craft beer?
I don't know if it is Pilsner Urquell considered a craft beer? I don't think it is it?
I mean, it's not probably by definition not, but I wouldn't call it macro. Like, they're huge.
Yeah, that's one of those weird.
It's well made though. I mean, it's kind of like where Guinness lives.
It's well crafted.
Yeah. I mean, I would put it in like it lives in that same realm that Guinness lives in, where they're humongous, but it's not garbage beer like you typically get from the large macro breweries.
Yeah, I would say that.
So no, it doesn't count.
Okay.
To answer your question,
I can't really remember my first one, but I do remember my first brand that I fell in love with. and it was probably Dogfish Head, as far
Okay.
as them being more culinary based in their ingredient approach. That fascinated me right off the bat, and I remember like trying everything. I didn't like everything, but I do remember, going out of my way to see what they had to offer. And I kind of like backtracked from there, like went to normal style traditional beers after I like tried their version of it, which you can almost even tell like Homaide's very similar in that sense.
So I went to a conference for beer writing that he didn't keynote. He just, I think he did a talk or something on. And he did, have you ever seen the on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, they do Ask Dogfish things
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
can you can ask him
Yeah.
well, he did one of those from the conference. And
Oh,
but he started with just taking questions from us.
Nice.
And someone asked him if there was ever an ingredient that was too crazy for him to put into a beer. And I loved his answer because it was I try not to think about that because the right side of my brain would be like, no, you absolutely can't do that. While the left side would be, shut the F up. That's what we're doing
why
right
not?
now.
Yeah. That's actually my sentiment pretty much about beer approach, is because I do talk about how much I love tradition, but then I'll make beers that are like people are like, that's not even traditional, buddy. But the respect is always there. But like you said, the right and the left combining together becomes that conversation of, well, why not though?
Yeah.
Then you dissect it from there. Sometimes you learn, oh, that's why. And then sometimes you learn, oh, this is the best beer I've ever tried in this style. Subjectively.
I think he landed on bodily fluids is where he would draw the line.
Yeah, but didn't they like spit in one of their first beers?
So that actually doesn't even count.
Yeah,
chicha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to have him on, Sam Calagione, on Uncapped so bad. And he agreed to when I talked to him in person. And then he didn't respond to my emails.
He didn't remember a dude named Chris?
No, he didn't.
Huh? Oh yeah, like next time you talk to him, ask him about our collab.
Okay.
Homaide and Dogfish Head.
I mean, crazier things have probably happened. Actually, they do collabs with some really tiny
some
places
smaller
that I've seen. So it's
no,
possible.
for real. Next time you talk to Sam.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it probably will be no time soon.
You're
Although
right.
I do need to, I need to just email them again. Like now it's easier that I can do it remotely.
That's
like
true,
I just emailed Stone and was like, "Hey, I'd really like to interview Greg Cook," and they got back to me and set it up. So
oh, nice. Nice.
I guess I'll just try with Sam again.
Just keep doing it until he
just set a script that just once a week emails. Hey, remember me? You told me that you would talk to me. Where'd you go?
With your cover letter and photo on there and glitter.
Yeah, just full of glitter. You're not going to forget me now, are you?
Oh man.
So speaking of collabs, that is something really cool. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Although you made it much less seamless by pointing it out.
Good transition, Chris.
I don't know. I don't follow beer that closely in other areas. I stay pretty singularly focused on Maryland. And there's my camera going out again. So we will just, while I'm talking, people will get to look at you. So at least in Maryland, that is one awesome thing that has been happening a lot lately. Could you look any more weird? That breweries that are going to open have the opportunity to do collaborations with breweries all across the state and get their name out there. How whose hand is that? Is that Lucas?
It is.
Hi, Lucas. Oh, anyone just listening. everyone listening to this is missing out on the creepiness that just took place.
I wouldn't say they're missing it.
Yeah, right.
All right, you didn't get to see. How my camera still hasn't decided to start working again. How beneficial do you think that has been to you?
Oh, very. Yeah, I kind of mentioned to you earlier, but we were in this weird position of we were waiting on licensing to come in. We figured during COVID we had the time, and so we decided to do our floor. And then licensing all of a sudden came in, like out of nowhere. And so now we were held up on our tread strains and flooring. Long story short there, supposed to be done by one day, didn't get done, which made like 2-3 week interval of inspection and all that fun stuff. But that turned into our friends and us reaching out to our friends and asking if we could collab, or them offering a collab. So utilizing their tank time to get some beer in so we could split, and that way we could open strong and not have to wait for our beers to finish in our tanks currently, but still have a joint unison product that we could promote both brands with. But yeah, man, the community really went above and beyond, to be honest with you, like to help us get beer in the tanks and out into the distro and the market as well.
Yeah, because it's not like they were just tiny little breweries that
No, yeah,
you were working with.
and it's not like they had the just extra tank time to do said thing, because no one has tank time.
With Kid Chameleon, you already Solace, not a tiny brewery, pretty big brewery down in Virginia.
Absolutely.
Your friends to the right behind you, Kushwa. A lot of people have heard of them. They're not a tiny little brewery. Fairly popular. I think a couple people might like them.
They might just do the best New England style IPAs in Maryland. I don't know. Something about that.
Crooked Crab, who is on fire
awesome
right now.
Dudes. Yeah, awesome dudes.
And the name of the beer and the logo is just fantastic.
Are they from Maryland?
Crooked Crab?
I'm just messing with you.
Like, did you drink a beer with them? Like you got me so confused. I mean, there's only one beer name and label better than Bicycle Minotaur. Can you guess what it is?
Sans Jams.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, another selfless promotion here.
Coming to you again this spring, maybe end of winter.
Hey, why didn't you bring us any Sans Jams, man?
That's gone. It's been gone for a while. Sorry. I promise, and I will forget. So if you see when it's announced,
I promise, and I will forget as well.
I will when the next iteration of it is made. I will bring you some.
Right on.
But yeah, and then we collab with our friends at Sapwood Cellars as well.
Also, tiny little brewery. Probably haven't heard of them.
Yeah, never beer communities. Never heard of them.
They did not write the book on sours or IPAs.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm gonna huge shout out to Michael and Scott, because the whole time we were brewing that beer, we were joking about how Bière de Garde sells so well. But honestly, it's been a really good seller here, and it's a beer that tastes like beer, which is quite delicious. Quite delicious.
Do people like that?
We didn't think that they did, but sales are proving otherwise. So,
did you think about putting a fruit in it?
We wanted a can and put you on the label.
That apparently, I don't know if it's good or bad. It must be good because people keep doing it. So
it's a thing, yeah.
Yeah. I'm on. I think this. Whoa, dear! Oh, thank God! I finished that crowler since I just knocked it over. I think this one, Super Hype Bros 3, was number 12.
Nice.
So that is Lucas that has joined us. How long have you been growing that beard, Lucas?
Since I was like 4 or 5, maybe. I'm Appalachian and like
nice to meet you.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed
Drive
to
safe, man.
shave.
What's that?
You're not allowed to shave then, or you
Man,
don't
man,
have.
have you
shavers
seen-
or some-
Have you seen the Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you shave it and it just comes back.
yeah, it just happens, man. It sucks.
Have you watched the movie Hillbilly Elegy?
I have not yet.
It was a good movie. I liked it, even though it was like universally hated by movie reviewers.
Which is the reason you love it.
Probably. I didn't know until after I had watched it. I just wanted to look up. I didn't know how accurate it was to the guy who wrote it. It was based on his memoir. So I just wanted to see how accurate the movie was to his memoir. And then I just found how much like movie reviewers hated it.
That's great.
But I thought it was interesting. So you've been open for 2 weeks. How has that gone?
It's gone. Yeah, pretty busy the first week and a half. This latest COVID scare has definitely been a weird one. Pretty much everyone in Washington County has eased up on the breweries for sure. But yeah, going back to the community thing, we actually have like Antietam and Cushwa coming here to support us as well.
And Upper Stem.
And Upper Stem, and sending people our way as well, vice versa.
I don't think I've had beer from Upper Stem yet. I need to reach out to them. I haven't had.
Dan makes extremely good and actually traditional beer. Yeah.
Not
Like,
with some
it's-
weird yeast.
Yeah,
thrown
not
into
like
it.
with some hybrid. No, he makes extremely good beer.
Not like that crap that Homaide's doing down the street.
But yeah, Upper Stem has been awesome. Actually, we have a Dark Saison coming out at the end of the year with them. Oh shoot, it is the end of the year.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't have
I
much
guess-
time.
The middle of January, should I say?
We've lost all concept of time.
What is
recently,
time?
so-
Yeah.
I have no idea when is anymore.
Yeah. When is?
Where are they located?
Leitersburg Pike in Hagerstown, right across from Leitersburg Cinema, actually.
Oh, okay. I took my daughter there once. And as we were going there, her response was, "Dad, why are you taking me out into the sticks to watch a movie?"
It's definitely that. Yeah.
But it was a great theater. And now
It's
they
like-
opened Warehouse Cinemas in Frederick, and it's amazing. I just
Yeah.
wish I could go more often.
Yeah, and I'm sure that one smells less like cow manure.
Way
The
less.
Leitersburgs.
Yeah. There's
Um,
no cow manure near there.
but
Missing
yeah,
out.
yeah, you are. But yeah, Upper Stem, real quick. They have a farm brewery and
Okay.
plenty of seating, solid beer, and
Yeah, I've only
awesome,
heard great things about
awesome
them.
couple too.
I'll have to have you put me in touch with them so I can have
Will
them
do.
on. So have there been many people that stopped by in the last 2 weeks, or has it been pretty lackluster due to people being afraid to go out in public?
Kind of both. Typical of every, I guess, brewery or bar, establishment. Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays are pretty busy.
Okay.
Sunday is a hit or miss because we're not a sports bar. And then we just started doing Tuesday and Wednesdays, but yeah, today's Wednesday and it's snowing, so we're closing early today. So we're still learning. Again, only being less than a month open. We've already added hours to hopefully help and compensate for people who aren't necessarily wanting to come during the weekends or when
Yeah.
it's busier. Since Lucas and I are here anyways all the time. Yeah, all the time.
Well, yeah, no, I think when I texted you, like, I'm there every day, 8 to 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, all right. Why do you
Yeah.
even bother leaving then?
Yeah, exactly. I have,
Shower, man. You got to shower
what is that?
once a week.
I actually live right down the road, so it's convenient for me. But yeah, I worry about old Mucus Lucas over here.
That's such an endearing nickname.
It's either that or Dookie Lukey, so your choice.
I mean, it's really
Exactly.
it's like half dozen, six of the other.
Right. People never forget, Lucas.
People don't
Is have you sent beer out to anywhere else, or is it all just at the brewery now? Well, I mean, I guess
We
obviously
have-
the collaboration, some of that's out.
Exactly. So
in the
yeah,
world.
some of that's out on the market right now. We're gonna do a little bit of local distribution, but because taproom sales are important for us
Yeah.
as a small brewery, most of it will come out of the tap room. But yeah, there's a few accounts that we want to get locally around here. Do our best because we are limited on beer to get them a decent amount.
Lucas, what is the craft beer that got you into craft beer?
How much time you got? No, but I was at a little dive bar in West Virginia called the Purple Fiddle, and they only had local beers there. So I go up and I order a Yingling, and she's like, "We have this Yingling bottle, but it's $7." And I'm like, and I'm cheap, so I'm like, "Oh, what else you got?" She's like, "We have this microbrew. It's brewed right down the road. It's $3.50." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I took that, and it was an IPA, and it was like 8%. So I kind of like chugged it down, not digging it. But by the time I got to the second one, being that it was 8%, I kind of dug it. And then after
Tastes
that,
a lot better.
yeah, for sure. But after that, I kind of got into the chasing the super bitter IPAs. It was Mountain States Seneca Rock.
Never heard of it.
So they're from West Virginia, man. You gotta leave Maryland every once in a while. We'll take it. That's cool. There's a lot of good beer here, man. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, really, I don't leave Frederick often, so trying to tell me to leave Maryland is I don't even know what you're talking about. You're speaking another language.
We're lucky we got him this time.
But yeah, man. After that, it was the typical ones, man. I got into Two Hearted, pretty intense, and Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is always a staple in my fridge.
So, Stephen was telling us that you were brewing in Columbus for a while.
Yeah.
Were you there when the craft beer scene there really started to take off?
So I started brewing in Columbus around 2015, right when like Stone was looking at coming to Columbus, and because they wanted to come, they switched around the laws a lot that made it a little bit easier for us to brew, what we wanted. We could brew higher gravity stuff. Distribution was a little bit easier, so it kind of helped everything blow up. They didn't choose us; they went to Richmond, which, whatever.
Oh, well.
But then BrewDog came, and
Right. Did the same concept.
yeah, they kind of did the same thing. And BrewDog is pretty awesome. They helped out like a lot of the local breweries. They would always have local stuff on tap there, so it was a cool time, man. I think there's like 60 some breweries in Columbus now. I think I've been to like
it's all over the place now.
20 of them. Yeah.
I really want to stay at the BrewDog hotel.
I never stayed there, but that's an incredible brewery, man. It's so awesome.
So did Ohio have laws that you could only have a certain percent beer?
Well, before Stone and BrewDog came, it was 12%. After that,
Okay.
I think it
was still pretty high.
Yeah, it's still 12%. I mean,
it's funny you'd say that, how helpful they were, because BrewDog seems to get a lot of hate lately.
I've met people from the bottom to the top of BrewDog, and they've all been super. They were all pretty awesome.
That's usually how it works. The hate's always somewhere.
People are haters, but they were nothing but nice to me.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? Anything I didn't ask you?
Yeah, it was your birthday recently, so there's a reason this is here.
I assumed it was just for your opening, but thank you.
We had this for your birthday.
Yeah, specifically.
Yeah, then my back decided to not work, and
And we were
got
trying to
delayed.
avoid you before that, so yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, I mean, it's definitely glad we pushed it off to this week because I recorded some last week. I don't think they were quite as good because I was still kind of loopy in the head from muscle relaxers and stuff. So it's a good
I'm gonna
thing.
listen to that on the way home.
Right.
It's a good thing we just pushed it off to this week.
We didn't go into too many personal things. I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Yet.
So yeah. I look forward to I think a year from now we should have you guys on again and do a retrospective of what it was like from opening in the pandemic to
Being closed.
the
and shut down.
heights that you reached after going out of business because of where you've reached to that point once this is cleared up and people are pouring into the tap room.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think once the word gets out about how good your beer is, you guys are going to do amazing. I enjoyed this crowler of Kid Chameleon, and I may just go drink that other crowler tonight too. Why not?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to go anywhere.
Guard the beard.
So thank you so much for your time today, gentlemen. Thank you for ignoring us for most of the episode, Locusts. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening.
Come up with excuses, but I have none.
Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers, brother. Have a good one.